Hey everyone, what's the crack? Lawrence here with the brand new VNM Lite pedals. These come with a very good price tag. Let's see what they perform like on the rig. Right, first things first, the box is not too impressive. I did open up this little part because I thought there might be another box inside it, but there isn't. This is the box, so there's no fancy packaging here. Now, some of you really like when there's not fancy packaging because you're like, I'm just going to throw the box in the bin anyway. I don't really want it to be super nice. But if this was on a shelf next to some of the other pedal sets, you might be more tempted by the other pedal sets. But this is just one of the ways that they save a bit of money. We've got some foam on here. We'll just get rid of that. And let's see, what have we got in here? VNM simulation. I don't know if you can see that there because it's like a cutout. It's pretty cool. We've got our usual USB cables. There's a manual in here. I'll give you guys a quick glance at that. There we go. And the back. And there is another, okay, this is just the mounting instructions, it seems. Mounting. Let's put that to the side there. We've got bags of bolts. We've got a load of these little winged T-slot nuts. Loads of little bolts there. Another bag with some elastomers and springs. So elastomer most likely for the brake. This looks like clutch springs, and this looks like maybe throttle or brake. I'm not sure. We'll figure all that out. We've got a little control box. We've seen this type before. So that's kind of interesting. We've seen those on the VNM pedals before. Very nice. Nicely machined. It's nice when they pay some bit of attention to those parts and make them look nice. So that is always nice. Let's pick up the closest pedal first. So this looks to be the throttle. Yeah, this is the throttle. And we've got a cable coming out of it. Coming out of the side here, out of a hall sensor. So this is not a kind of a typical first impressions because I kind of know what to expect from VNM. The styling has changed slightly. This is a very long spring compared to those other springs that we saw, so I'm not sure if we can change this. We've got adjustability on the throw, which is something in a throttle that I really like. These bearings all look very nice as well, and this looks pretty rigid. We can adjust the height here of where this contact is, or where this arm meets that arm, which does change the resistance. So right now it will be at its least resistance. You move this up a little bit, and then this spring comes into play a little bit more. The closer this is to your foot, the more directly you're pushing into this. Right now it's using a lot of leverage, so this is the lightest setting. When you raise this, that'll make it heavier. We've got the ability to raise and lower the faceplate as well. The faceplate itself stays stuck to this piece here, this little block. So you can't move that individually, but you've got a little bit of movement on this part here, which is quite nice. Anything else to remark here? No, the design is quite nice. It looks good. Let's grab one of the other pedals. And here we go. I quite like, for shipping here, it seems like these kind of just stay there nicely. You don't have this trailing cable that you're pulling out of the box. So that's quite nice that that stayed like that during transit, even though it's not clipped on or anything. So that's quite well thought out. Again, you can see that this clearly matches the throttle pedal. We've got this cantilever type of system. So fairly light setting there. We can see how that's working. The cantilever allows for a simulated bite point. So you can see here the kind of the linearity of the press changes. And it's even hard for me to do a perfectly linear press. At one point here, it becomes very light because there's no extra tension on that spring. We can again adjust the throw, which is very nice. There's not a lot of adjustment on here. We can raise and lower this entire bracket. So if you see this entire bracket here, when we look in here, we can see some extra holes. So that whole bracket can be lowered slightly. So that's something that I will play with. Similar to the throttle pedal as well, something that I missed there is you can adjust the height of the rear and the front, so you can angle the pedals even if this stays the same. So if your base plate doesn't move, you can still get some angle adjustment here as well, which is nice. I'm not sure if you can change the initial angle, and we do have some adjustment here like we have on the throttle. We have some adjustment, even though it's not a slot here. They're individual holes. It's a slot on the throttle, but that looks pretty cool. And now the one that people care the most about. Here we go. Again, this cable just stayed in place, came out of the box like this. That's pretty nice. And so it does seem like those springs and elastomers are just for the brake. I don't think we get any spares for the other two pedals. So looking at the brake here straight away, even though this is a light pedal set, you would think it's like, you know, fairly entry level or whatever. It hits me right in the face here that it's got a 200 kg load cell. And that is pretty cool. I'm quite impressed with that. Even though 200 kg is just the maximum that it can measure, doesn't mean that this pedal takes 200 kg of force or whatever. It's just that if you were to give it 200 kgs of force, it would be able to measure it. If you're only giving it like 50 kgs or whatever, that may as well be a 50 kg load cell. It's just its ability to measure and not the weight of the pedal. We've got several little, I guess, separators, washers here between the springs. We can see there's a little bit of movement in those, which is something that I was worried about with the VNM pedals that I reviewed before. The elastomers kind of squashed up a bit. So that's something I'll be keeping an eye out for here. The elastomers do seem to be quite short here. So shorter elastomers do tend to perform slightly better. It all remains to be seen when I actually have it on the rig. We've got some adjustment in the stopping point here, or the throw, but generally your throw won't be a hard stop. Generally the load cell is your hard stop on any pedal set. So adjustment for throw, I think this one is just for structure. It's not for any adjustability to the best of my knowledge. And same with this one. They've just kept the same kind of styling of that blue effect. So nothing major there to report. This looks like a preload. Yeah, so we can adjust that preload. I'm just going to put it back to the way it was because I like to run these pedals in the default factory configuration and not mess with them too much before I put them on the rig, so that if there's anything wrong, at least it can't be something that I've done. It also gives me a good indication of how the company expects these to be used by the end user, because they will most likely configure it in a setup that they like and that they think people are most likely to enjoy. So there's no base plate with this. That is a major thing for people to consider. No base plate. So I'll be mounting these either directly onto the rig or maybe onto a base plate that I have lying around. I do like to have base plates because I like that little bit of adjustability. So we'll see how that goes. That is the VNM Lite pedals. I've heard really good things about these, so let's put them to the test. Let's hop in the sim. So here we are in the rig, and I've got them hooked up. It's very unusual for me to have pedals in this configuration. I don't have a base plate. For some reason, just the height, the size of them, maybe because the Lite configuration, I don't know, they're quite small. The pedal faces are quite low, so there is a bit of a heel plate built in to this rig. But usually when I get standalone pedals, they're like very, very tall. I haven't had to adjust anything on here, so I've taken a little bit different, but it doesn't feel too unnatural. Forgive my socks, pardon my socks. I didn't really think about the socks that I was wearing, but it feels pretty comfortable. The clutch, there's not much in the clutch at all, like no weight. There's a little bit in the throttle, not a lot, and the brake has a huge amount of travel. Massive travel, and I'm getting right to the end there. So this elastomer stack, I can already say that this elastomer stack with this spring is not going to be enough for me. Not necessarily, like, so I can push it quite far, and it does get quite heavy towards the end, but I am hitting a hard stop at the end, which it's too far away. I prefer that hard stop to be caused by the elastomers and to be maybe around, you know, here or so. I don't really want to have to move my foot all the way over there every time. Yeah, the clutch is super light. I'm just doing that with one toe there, really light. As for the shape of the pedal faces, I'd say they'll probably be, you know, even in a configuration like this, they'll probably be quite nice with socks. I do always test these with socks and shoes. Might switch to shoes in a while. It all depends on how it goes with that brake. So let's have a look at this software here. This is the VNM UI. And when we click on the pedals tab, we can see that the pedals are being detected. That clutch is super sensitive. So we might put in a little bit of dead zone there. I'm not sure. And you can see as we press it fully, it's not going, well, I can press it a little bit harder, but it's not going to the very end. So maybe we need to do a quick calibration on here. Let's see. With VNM software, just from memory, we have to select the axis first. There we go. Okay, and then we get this cool little graph. So the clutch is actually good. We have a little bit, if we're a little lazy pressing the throttle, you can see that it's just not fully registering. So let's give that a calibration. Calibrate, press it, let it go, finish, and let's see what happens. Oh, it's still not going all the way to full. That's interesting. We can put a little bit of a threshold in there, like, I don't know, if we make that 62,000. Set. Oh no, that's not what it was. Let's calibrate. Okay, it's only going to 35.1. Finish. 35. Yeah, we're gonna have to put it down to like 34,000 maybe. Even though I would have expected. Yeah, there we go. So we're not, like, if we're lazy, we might not be on full throttle. That's just from experience. Here, even when I'm pressing it kind of not too hard, I'm not putting any force into it. I just have traveled the full distance. Now it's at 100%. So that's a little bit weird that we couldn't calibrate that. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Then we've got the brake. Is that showing the? Why is that showing the? Oh, we never set the minimum here. So the minimum was at 5,000. So let's just set the minimum to 6,000. For the throttle. Set that. Yeah, there's a little bit of dead zone at the start and at the finish now. That's okay. Maybe that's a little bit high. This is a little bit clunky for now. I'm going to get just the smallest of bars. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it'll allow us to be a little bit sensitive on the throttle. Okay, let's go to the brake. So now the brake, the starting point is great. Oof, the end point is pretty far away. Let's just calibrate that. Press it. and let it go. So that's how I would normally kind of brake. Yeah, that's all right. Now that is the full travel. Don't know, do I want... Yeah, I don't want to do that all the time, especially with socks. I can feel my foot already just a little bit sensitive, just to pushing this. You know, at the far, there's something. Yeah, I don't know. There's something of an unnatural movement, or something happening. I prefer, with my socks anyway, I prefer not to press it that hard. There's a little bit of a... I don't know, can you guys hear that? But that's like a click happening here. It's like there's a little bit of a stickiness. I don't know, not stickiness. It might just need some lubrication. But that's like causing a plastic on plastic. It needs lube. Not plastic on plastic, but metal just not very well lubricated. So that's one to watch out for. Let's I've calibrated that, the brake. These are still the pedal figures though, right? So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, weird that it's still only showing the pedal figures. Let's just... Ah, no, that's too much. Let's set it there and see. Oh, it's still going 100%. That's interesting. So I didn't even press it 100% there. Let's just be very explicit about it this time. Not press it 100%. Let it go. Oh yeah, it's a bit better now. Yeah, that's probably more where I'd like it. Okay. Now let's go for the clutch. Now the clutch is probably okay. Yeah, clutch is actually okay. Alright, so that's it set up, that's it calibrated. Gives a little bit of an insight into how to do that. Let's hop into the game. So here we are in my trusty Formula Agile. You guys gave me a hard time in my last video, so I was sure to install the Pure mod for this one. So the reason I use this car, for those of you who are not familiar with the channel, the reason I use this car is because for pedal, for force feedback, this is a super sensitive car. So you can tell I'm barely braking there and it's locking up. And when I go on the throttle a bit, you can see it already tries to brake out. So pedal control is absolutely vital. Obviously we're not too concerned with the clutch right now. Clutches in sim racing are pretty much binary anyway. So, and I've got the game volume down a little bit. Maybe we need a little bit more game volume here. Okay, let's go. So I'm just trying to control the throttle, try to play with that before the tires warm up. Oh, the brake is actually quite nice. So the way I've calibrated it now is usually for when I use... If I know I'm going to be on socks, I will calibrate my brake a little bit lighter, just so that it takes less force. I do enjoy having a shoe on and feeling that proper brake force. You can see on my screen here, you can see my pedal inputs, so you can see me hitting the throttle now. I'm in a high gear, so there's not much happening, but when I'm in a lower gear, it will spin up the rear tires. But you'll see as I go into corners, you'll see, and you'll hear the braking as well, because you'll hear the squeak of the brakes obviously, but you'll also hear tires locking up, and that's obviously what we want to try and avoid here as I get used to these pedals. Because one of the cool things about doing it this way is that you get a good feel for an intuitive feel for the brake. Like that was nice. That was good. Stay on the track. Nice on the throttle as well. And fast through here. Yeah, like super intuitive. I'm gelling with these pedals almost straight away. I know exactly where they're going to lock up, which I think is one of the big things about load cell. We use load cell for muscle memory, but I can tell you pretty much exactly where they're going to lock up. I've done like 2 laps now, and I've been talking to you the whole time. I'm not fully concentrating on my driving because I'm trying to think of what to say, and I'm already driving pretty intuitively. Like you could see going right to the limit there, but I actually went on the brakes too early. I feel like I can brake very late with these. So that's always a good sign. Like that felt very balanced, very comfortable. I can move that brake quite quickly. No concerns whatsoever about the throttle. It is relatively light. That is nice. Oh, just a little bit wide, but it's a very difficult corner. One of the reasons I use this track for these. That also is a bit of a cut, but I'm liking this. I'm really liking this. This is a good first impression so far. It's a notoriously difficult car. I feel like I'm getting to the maximum of what the brake, where I should be braking with this car. I feel like I could be very on pace with this. I feel like the car is quite balanced. Like the brakes, I mean, sounds a bit silly, but the brakes help you to balance the car, especially a car like this. Coming out of the corner, easy to control the pedals too. Bit of a lock-up. One thing that I love about Assetto Corsa, why I do these tests in Assetto Corsa as well, when you do lock up, the tires recover very, very quickly, which is not something that you get in every sim. Just forcing some understeer there. See if I can control the throttle to get it out of there. Off track, a lot of off tracks here, but we're not judging my driving, we're judging my ability to control these pedals. And that right now, even on the, you know, close to the limit, is quite nice, he says as he mounts a curve. What else can I say here? I mean, I'm not using the clutch just now. I don't necessarily feel like I need to get in and try the clutch, because that clutch is very light. I'm definitely going to be looking for adjustment on that. Throttle and brake though, I'm very, very impressed. Very impressed. Really good, solid first impressions. Yeah, really, really nice. This is just in Assetto Corsa. I will be trying it in other sims, iRacing and all that, but generally it doesn't vary that much. So being able to control them like this at this point is a very good sign. So this 3-pedal set is $430 US. That is cheap. That is very, very cheap. So it depends on who you ask and what people's preferences are, but for a general person upgrading to their first load cell set of pedals, it's that was a very solid first impression. Sometimes I need to, you know, adjust things. There's plenty of adjustment in these. I've got elastomers, I've got springs, I've got things that I can adjust. I've not adjusted anything from default. This already feels relatively solid. I would like that brake to be heavier at the end, because I want a hard stop at the end. My feeling to the point where I feel is nice braking, where I would like my hard stop up till that point, is actually really nice. There's a good feel in that brake, and I feel like it's very easy to control it. I'd love for there to be a hard stop there, but I can quite easily bring it back to that point, so maybe I don't necessarily need that hard stop, and I do need to try these with shoes still. $430 is cheap. Man, it's so cheap. It seems like sim racing hardware is just getting cheaper but not losing quality, if that makes sense. The little control box, external control box, that's all fine. There's a little LED on there, but you barely notice it, so nothing too bright. The connectors are all pretty high quality. There was, and you might have noticed in when I was taking out of the box, there was a lot of little like foamy stuff, which looked a little bit like scratches and dings on the paint, or the anodization, or the powder coat, whichever one they use. But it's not. They were just little foam pellets, so nothing to worry about there. Yeah, quality is good. I don't know. I'm maybe a little bit surprised. Because I reviewed the VNM pedals, the full, like the proper big pedals. They're a lot more expensive than these, but my first impressions weren't as good as this. So either they've taken some of that feedback on board and built something better. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can't take credit for that because there are lots and lots of other reviewers as well. But right now, if I was to sit down and do a 2-hour stint, I'd be perfectly happy with these pedals, which is a huge vote of confidence. So pretty impressed, to be honest. So there you have it. The VNM pedals Lite, a massive surprise. I was expecting less than their older brothers, their bigger brothers, but I think I got more from my first impressions, which isn't easy to say. I did like the VNM pedals. They needed a little bit of adjustment. These I'm actually already quite happy with. So exciting, very exciting. Can't wait to play with the elastomers and adjust some of those settings a little bit. I don't really have any problems with the angles. You can get a base plate with this. It will cost you extra. I just didn't get the base plate. But I'm actually pretty okay with it. You know, this is kind of worked out. I don't know why, but I like this pedal set. That's it for my first impressions of the VNM pedals Lite. I will be using these on all my live streams every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9 o'clock Irish and UK time. If you want to pop in, ask me how I'm doing with them, ask me if I've discovered anything new. If I'm not streaming, just go onto my Discord and hang out there. Ask. There's a hardware under review channel. You can ask whatever you like. If you want measurements or whatever, just give me a shout and I'll try my best to get back to you. For now, this has been a great, pleasant surprise. I'm Lawrence. I'll chat to you later.